I just realized something. I'm older than the Academy. Hollywood's golden age gave us faces we thought we'd never forget. But decades later, some of those stars look completely unrecognizable. One actress had fat injections at the Oscars that she called the stupidest mistake of her life. Another survived her own mother trying to end her life twice before she was even born. And one legend is now 100 years old, still doing yoga and asking for show. What they look like now is stunning, but what they survived to get here is the real story. Number 11. Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren was born in 1934 and now at 98. Her story stretches across almost an entire century of fame, scandal, and resilience. When she starred in Two Women in 1960, the world didn't just see another actress. She became the very first person to win an Oscar for a non-English performance, breaking every expectation for what an Italian actress could achieve in Hollywood. 3 years later, in Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow from 1963, she was no longer just performing. She was owning every frame, but for all the beauty and elegance she brought to the screen, what was happening behind the scenes was something most people didn't see. In 1982, everything changed when she was sent to prison for tax evasion. She spent 17 days behind bars, insisting her accountant had filed things wrong. She kept fighting for decades until Italy's Supreme Court finally cleared her name in 2013. That means she lived with that shadow for over 30 years. Her personal life had its own explosions. Back in 1957, she was only 23 when she acted in The Pride and the Passion with Cary Grant. He was older, married, and obsessed with her. He sent flowers every day and poured his heart out in letter after letter. One of them read, "You'll be in my prayers. Forgive me, dear girl." But she didn't choose him. She stayed loyal to Carlo Ponte, her longtime mentor, even though he was 22 years older and already married himself. They tried to get around that by marrying in Mexico, through a proxy in 1957. But the scandal didn't stop there. That marriage got annulled 5 years later when Italy charged them with bigamy. Even Marlon Brando tried something he thought he could get away with. During the 1967 film, A Countess from Hong Kong, he suddenly grabbed her without warning. Lauren didn't freeze. She slapped him and said, "Don't you ever dare to do that again." She later said she stared him down so hard he looked small and helpless. Now at 90, after a serious fall in 2023 that broke her hip and thigh bone, she lives quietly in Switzerland. Her health isn't what it used to be, but her spirit hasn't faded. She once said, "When I look in the mirror, I cheer for myself. And after everything, prison, public scandals, secret heartbreaks, that line might just be the most powerful thing she ever said." Number 10. Dick Van DJK. Dick Van DJK was born in 1925, though for most of his early life, he believed it was 1926. His parents had lied to hide that he was conceived before marriage, something they thought was shameful back then. But Van DJK always brought joy to others, especially starting in 1961 when The Dick Van Jayco Show made him a household name. He won 3 Emmys playing Rob Petrie, a TV writer, and the chemistry with Mary Tyler Moore made it one of the most loved sitcoms of its time. Just 3 years later in 1964, he danced across the screen in Mary Poppins as Bert the Chimney Sweep. Everyone saw the energy, the happiness, but almost no one knew what he was hiding. Behind that smile was a serious drinking problem. For 7 years, he struggled with alcoholism. He finally checked himself into a hospital in 1972 for 3 weeks, admitting he couldn't control it anymore. He said he started drinking just to talk to strangers because he was painfully shy. But slowly it turned into something darker. He was drinking before the parties even began. In 2013, at age 87, he barely escaped death when his Jaguar caught fire on the 101 freeway in California. A stranger pulled him from the flames. That same year, he began suffering from mysterious head pain no doctor could explain. He turned to Twitter, asking fans if they knew what it might be. But despite all that, he never gave up. In 2012, he shocked everyone by marrying a makeup artist named Arlene Silver, who was 40 years old at the time. He was 86. Now at 99, he still works out 3 times a week with yoga and stretching. He says it's Arlene who pushes him to stay active. Even though he quit drinking decades ago, he still chews nicotine gum 15 years after giving up cigarettes because quitting smoking, he said, was twice as hard. And now, as 2025 nears its end, he's planning something big. On December 13, 2025, Dick Van DJK will turn 100. A memoir called 100 Rules for Living to 100 is set to release just weeks before his birthday. The man who once doubted himself, who used alcohol just to talk to strangers, is now ready to show the world how he made it through a century. Number 9. Eva Marie Saint. Eva Marie Saint wasn't supposed to be a star. She was already 30, an age when most actresses were told they were done before they even began. But in 1954, something happened that no one in Hollywood saw coming. She was cast in her very first movie, On the Waterfront, opposite Marlon Brando. And that one role changed everything. She didn't just hold her own next to Brando. She stunned everyone and won an Oscar for it. Best Supporting Actress, her very first movie. She beat out names like Claire Trevor, Nina Foch, and Katie J. People couldn't believe it. It just didn't happen like that. But getting there wasn't glamorous. Before the spotlight, she was just another unknown face, doing whatever jobs she could find. One of her first paid gigs wasn't acting at all. She was paid just $15 to sit off to the side and clap during shows. She used that tiny paycheck to buy a dress. That's all she could afford. And then came one of the worst moments of her early career. She got a part in Mr. Roberts with Henry Fonda. It should have been her big break. But on opening night, the director pulled her aside and said the production was nervous with you. Just like that, she was fired. She didn't give up. She trained hard at the actor's studio and learned the method acting style. When she finally stood next to Brando on set, something clicked. Brando moved with a kind of restless energy. Eva was still calm, focused. That contrast created something electric. Kazan, the director, lit her blonde hair in a way that made it glow. He wanted her to look pure, almost angelic. She was surrounded by corruption in the story, but she stood out like light in a dark room. Then, Alfred Hitchcock noticed her. In 1959, he cast her in North by Northwest. He took that soft image of hers and flipped it completely. She wasn't just innocent anymore. She was mysterious, seductive, dangerous. That role showed everyone she wasn't just one thing. But even after two of the most iconic directors in history trusted her talent, she didn't let Hollywood swallow her whole. She only did 21 films in her entire career. She chose family instead of chasing more roles. In 2014, at age 90, she voiced Katara in The Legend of Korra. That was her last acting job. And now, at 101, she's the oldest living Academy Award winner. She's also the earliest surviving Oscar recipient. She's not looking for the spotlight anymore. She spends her time walking, watching the Dodgers play, and being surrounded by her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Number 8. Vera Miles. Vera Miles is 95 now. In 1957, Alfred Hitchcock picked her out personally. He thought she was going to be the next Grace Kelly. He signed her to an exclusive contract that paid her $150,000 back then. Today, that would be over $1.6 million. That's how serious he was. He said she had beauty, brains, talent, and the kind of legs people would remember. He cast her with Henry Fonda in The Wrong Man, and people loved her. He had a bigger plan though. He wrote Vertigo for her. The dresses, the publicity, the whole campaign. It was all set up to make her a star. But then she got pregnant. It was just before filming started, and Hitchcock wasn't kind about it. He once said, "I hate pregnant women because then they have children." He gave the role to Kim Novak instead. It was the part that could have made Vera one of the most iconic stars of all time. She lost it before cameras even rolled. Still, Hitchcock used her again. She played Leia Crane in Psycho in 1960. That's the role most people remember. And in 1983, 23 years later, she played the same character again in Psycho 2. Vera kept getting offers, but she kept turning them down. Fame was never more important than her children. She had 4 of them, and she stayed close to them. In 1995, she quietly stepped away from acting. Her last film was Separate Lives. She hasn't done interviews since the 1990s. She lives quietly now in California. Photos taken recently show a woman who doesn't look anything like the blonde bombshell Hitchcock once called his favorite. But she's still here, still living, still remembered by those who know where to look. Number 7. Tippi Hedren was just a model from Minnesota until a single moment in 1961 changed her life. Alfred Hitchcock spotted her in a commercial during the Today Show and decided she would be his next big star. In 1963, she appeared in The Birds, and the next year in Marne. She even won the Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. On the outside, it looked like a dream, but on the inside, it was something far more disturbing. Hitchcock didn't just want her talent, he wanted control. He became obsessed. It started with inappropriate comments, then escalated. One day in a limousine, he lunged at her, trying to force himself on her. She fought back. She said no. That rejection came at a brutal cost. During filming, he swapped out mechanical birds for real ones. They pecked her face until blood was dripping. He told her coldly he would ruin her, and he did. He kept her under contract for 7 years, refusing to let her work with legendary directors like Francois Truffaut and Jean-Luc Godard. That dream of Hollywood stardom never came back, but she didn't disappear. In 1972, she founded Shambhala Preserve in the Mojave Desert. It grew into a 40-acre sanctuary filled with lions and tigers. Even Michael Jackson's Bengal tigers, Sabu, and Thriller, ended up there. She gave a home to 70 exotic animals and found peace in their roars. Now, in 2025, Tippi Hedren is 95. Her daughter Melanie Griffith says she's still happy, healthy, and feisty. She wakes up each morning in a quiet cottage surrounded by the same creatures she once saved. As president of the Roar Foundation, she never stopped fighting for animals, even when Hollywood failed her. Number 6. Kim Novak. Kim Novak had her own storm to survive. In 1958, her role in Vertigo made her a Hollywood icon. She wasn't just a blonde bombshell. She became the #1 box office star between 1958 and 1960. She did something no woman had done before. She started her own production company, but just 1 year before all that, in 1957, everything nearly collapsed. She had fallen in love with Sammy Davis Jr., and that was a problem. In racist 1950s Hollywood, an interracial relationship wasn't just taboo. It was dangerous. Harry Kahn, the head of Kolya Pictures, was furious. He used threats and pressure to tear them apart. The media owned her. Her career never fully recovered, but the pain started long before Hollywood. In a documentary released recently, Kim revealed that her own mother tried to end her pregnancy using knitting needles. She later tried to smother her with a pillow. Kim said quietly, "I stayed alive." Later in life, she made one mistake that haunted her. In 2014, she appeared at the Oscars with fat injections in her cheeks. The media was ruthless. She called it the stupidest thing she ever did. She felt humiliated, and once again, she stepped away from public life. She has bipolar disorder and spent years riding emotional highs and devastating lows. In 1966, while still at the top, she walked away from it all. She said she'd rather survive than become another victim of the industry, and she meant it. But in 2025, at 92, Kim Novak returned to the spotlight. At the Venice Film Festival in August, she accepted the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement. It was her first major appearance in 10 years. Now living quietly on a ranch in Oregon, she's at peace. A new biopic titled Scandalous is being made about her forbidden romance with Davis. It stars Sydney Sweeney, and it's already stirring attention. Number 5. Michael Caine. Michael Caine never looked or sounded like the Hollywood stars of his time, but in 1964, everything changed with Zulu. His thick Cockney accent and working-class background stood out. He wasn't born into fame. He was born Maurice Mickwhite, son of a fish market porter in South London. For years, he struggled. He worked construction. He washed dishes. His first marriage to actress Patricia Haynes fell apart in just a few weeks. He was nearly 30 when the real break came, and once it did, he never slowed down. What makes it even more shocking is that he didn't just become successful, he became historic. He starred in more than 130 films across 8 decades. His movies earned over $7.8 billion worldwide. He is one of only 5 actors in history to receive Oscar nominations in 5 different decades. And yet, behind all this glory, the pain he carried was buried deep. In 1989, after his mother, Ellen, passed away, Michael discovered a secret that shattered him. She had hidden something from the entire family. Michael had an older brother named David. David had severe epilepsy and was sent to a mental institution as a child. Ellen never told anyone, not even her husband, not even Michael. David had spent his whole life locked away alone. Michael was crushed. He once said, "3 people have wronged me in my life. I froze each of them out. I never forgot. I never forgave. That betrayal was one of them." Throughout his career, money was a big reason behind many of his choices. Michael admitted it freely. "I made a load of hilariously bad flops," he said, but he had a reason. He grew up poor and he never wanted to go back. Everything changed when he met Shakira Bach, a model from Ghana in 1973. He said he fell in love with her in 8 minutes. They've now been married for over 50 years. When people asked him how they made it work, he gave a simple answer. "Separate bathrooms," he said. "Never share a bathroom with a woman." In October 2023, at 92, he finally said he was retiring. His last film was The Great Escaper, but it didn't last. Just 2 years later, in September 2025, news broke that he's returning for The Last Witch Hunter 2 with Vin Diesel. Even at 92, he's not done. He still lives quietly with Shakira. Just a quiet life that still keeps drawing him back in. Number 4. Brigitte Bardot. Brigitte Bardot shocked the world in 1956. She was only 22 when Ingot Created Woman exploded across theaters. The movie made $33 million, an unheard of number at a time when most foreign films didn't even reach $1 million. Some theater owners in the U.S. were arrested just for showing it. The Catholic Church condemned it, and Bardot became a global obsession overnight. They called her the sex kitten. But it was clear this wasn't just about looks. She had something that no one could copy. She starred in over 40 films and turned Sandrope from a sleepy town into a symbol of luxury and freedom. She posed nude. She smoked in public. She lived the way she wanted without apology. By 1962, she was making millions. Hollywood begged her to join them. But then she did something no one expected. In 1973, at just 39, she walked away from movies completely. No farewell, no press tour. She vanished from the screen. She retreated to her home, La Madre in San. That's where she stayed. In 1986, she created the Brigitte Bardot Foundation for Animal Welfare. She auctioned off her jewelry and raised 3 million francs. She became a vegetarian. She fought for animal rights like her life depended on it. But time didn't stop. Today, she's 90. The woman who once turned heads with a single glance is now a reclusive figure with gray hair and tired eyes. The cameras are long gone. and the headlines are no longer about her beauty. They're about her words. She's been fined 5 times in France for making hateful comments about immigrants. Courts have ordered her to pay thousands for what they called inciting racial hatred, and she doesn't care. She says she flees humanity. She lives with her dogs, horses, donkeys, anything but people. She lives with her dogs, horses, donkeys, anything but people. Number 3. June Lockhart. 6 years I played the role of Ruth Martin on television's last season. June Lockhart became part of people's homes, starting in 1958 when she played Ruth Martin, the kind and steady mother on Lassie. For 6 years, from 1958 to 1964, she stood next to that famous Callie dog, giving comfort to millions who tuned in every week. Then, in 1965, she left the countryside and headed to space, as Maureen Robinson in Lost in Space. That show ran until 1968 and made her feel like everyone's mom in every corner of the universe. She kept that motherly warmth going when she joined Petticoat Junction in 1968 after B. Benneret passed away, staying on the show until 1970, but what nobody expected was that in 2025, she would turn 100 years old. June 25th marked her 100th birthday, and that put her in a very rare group. Only 3 out of every 10,000 Americans live to be 100. But even more stunning is that she has been acting for 90 years. She started when she was just 13 in the 1938 version of A Christmas Carol, acting alongside her parents, Jean and Kathleen Lockhart. Despite her clean-cut TV image, June had her surprises. When people asked how she managed to stay looking so young, she answered with a smile, "I've had great work done and some young boyfriends." She also holds something very rare in the entertainment world, a lifetime White House press pass. It was given to her by President Eisenhower's press secretary, James Haggerty. That means she can go to press briefings whenever she wants. People have asked her to write a book about her life, but she always brushes it off, saying she's too busy living it. Her Lassie co-star John Prost shared a story that stunned everyone. He saw her at 100 years old, put her leg up on a table, bend forward, and touch her head to her knee like she was doing yoga. Then she casually asked the waiter for a glass of chardonnay. These days, she lives in New York with 2 assistants, still mentally sharp, still reading the news, still following politics. She stopped making public appearances after March 2015. But in 2021, she did one last voice role in the Netflix remake of Lost in Space.